Okay, picture Santa Claus. The jolly guy in the red suit. He's got to be one of the most recognizable figures on the entire planet. We all know the sleigh, the reindeer, the giant sack of toys, the whole deal. But what if I told you that the Santa we all know and love is actually, well, a surprisingly modern invention? And that his real story is this wild ride through pagan folklore, straight up political rebellion, and this incredible global melting pot of traditions. Yeah, it gets crazy. So, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to jump in our time machine. We're heading way back to a time and a place where the whole spirit of Christmas, well, it looked completely different. All right, so first up, let's meet the original English character, Father Christmas. And I want you to forget almost everything you think you know about Santa. This guy had almost nothing in common with the American Santa Claus. He wasn't about the kids, he didn't bring any presents, and no, he definitely did not have any reindeer. Seriously, this original dude, he was basically the life of the party, but for grown-ups. If you look at the first records we have, way back in the 1400s, you see these characters like Sir Christmas, whose whole job was to get people to drink and just be merry. He was all about a good time for adults, not some magical toy maker for kids. So yeah, the OG Father Christmas was just a symbol of feasting and good cheer for the adults. His entire purpose was to get the party started. The whole idea of him sneaking down a chimney with presents for kids, that wasn't even on the radar for, centuries to come. But, things were about to take a really dramatic turn. This cheerful holiday guy was about to get caught right in the middle of a massive national crisis. We're talking 17th century England, where Christmas itself basically became a political and religious war zone. No joke. Okay, so here's what went down. In the mid-1600s, a new power rose up in England, the Puritans, and they looked at all the Christmas partying and thought it was totally corrupt. So, starting in 1644, they began cracking down on all the fun. And then, by June of 1647, they made it official. Christmas was abolished. Canceled, gone. So, why all the hate? What was their problem with Christmas? Well, the Puritans believed all the holiday traditions were tied up in paganism and, Catholic excess. To them, the feasting, the drinking, the merrymaking, that wasn't good cheer. It was a corrupting influence that they thought threatened the very soul of the nation. For about 15 years, it was literally illegal to celebrate Christmas in England. Just think about that for a second. No carols, no feasts, no parties. The government had officially canceled Christmas. But of course, the people fought back. You had the Royalists, who were the enemies of the Puritans, and they turned old Father Christmas into a symbol of protest. He became the face of the good old days they were fighting to bring back. This quote you're seeing from a Royalist poet, that was pretty much a battle cry for their cause. So, while the original Father Christmas is literally fighting for his life back in England, a totally new vision of the holiday was quietly being pieced together across the Atlantic, right here in the great American melting pot. And this is maybe the most important part of the whole story. The American Christmas we celebrate today, it wasn't just invented out of thin air, it was assembled, like a giant puzzle, piece by piece, from all the diverse traditions that waves of immigrants brought over with them. And in the end, it created something brand new. Let's take the Christmas tree, for example. Got one in your living room? Well, you can thank German immigrants for that. They brought the tradition to America way back in the 1820s. And at first, most Americans thought it was some kind of bizarre pagan thing. But yeah, it eventually caught on in a very big way. Then you have the amazing contributions from Mexican culture, like the beautiful tradition of Las Posadas. It's this 9-day celebration with community processions and incredible food, and it just enriched the whole holiday season, adding another really unique and wonderful layer to the American Christmas experience. And the roots go back even further than that. Take the Yule log. That comes from ancient Scandinavian and Norse traditions, a celebration of the winter solstice. So here you have this ancient pre-Christian symbol of light and warmth finding a brand new home right in the middle of a modern American Christmas. How cool is that? Okay, so you've got all these amazing, vibrant traditions just bubbling up in America. And all of this is setting the stage for one of the biggest, cultural mergers in history. It's what's going to create the holiday icon we all know today. So here's pretty much how it all went down. Around the 1850s, this new American version of Santa Claus, the guy who gives gifts and visits kids at night, he travels back across the ocean to England.
And then slowly but surely, the Old English Father Christmas starts to change. He starts looking more and more like his American cousin. And by the early 1900s, the two have pretty much merged into one single person.
And just like that, the transformation was complete. The Old English symbol of adult partying had totally merged with the American bringer of gifts for kids, and that created the single iconic figure we now call either Santa Claus or Father Christmas. They're basically the same thing now. But this whole story of evolution, it's more than just a fun piece of holiday trivia. It really shows us something profound about the power of our shared traditions to connect us, sometimes in the most unlikely and, frankly, the most extraordinary circumstances imaginable. I want you to think about the year 1914. World War I is raging, and on the Western Front, in the middle of all that horror, one of the most remarkable events in modern history is about to unfold. It's Christmas Eve. And soldiers on both sides of the line, they can hear each other singing Christmas carols. And the next day, they just spontaneously climbed out of their trenches. They didn't come out to fight. They came out to greet the enemy in the middle of a literal battlefield. What happened next? It was just unbelievable. These were men who, just hours before, had been trying to kill each other, and now they were singing songs together. They were exchanging little gifts, like food and buttons from their uniforms. They even played spontaneous games of football, right there in no man's land. And they used this moment of peace to bury their fallen comrades with dignity. And all of this was sparked by a shared idea of what Christmas meant. It's just such a powerful reminder that the traditions we build together, the stories we tell, the songs we sing, they're not just trivial things. They hold the power to create real human connection, even in the absolute darkest of times. So from a rowdy party host to a political rebel, all the way to a global symbol of generosity and peace, the story of Santa Claus is really a story of constant change. And it kind of leaves us with one last question to think about, right? What traditions are we creating today that are going to shape the Christmases of the future?